Welcome back, Gadgeteers. Today I'm going to put a new component inside my Dell 5675 computer. That's my Ryzen 1700 desktop computer. It's something I've wanted to do for a little while. Without further ado, I have the component right here that I'm going to install. And it is an internal Blu-ray drive. I'm not sure how well you can see that. And it is a SATA controlled Blu-ray. This one is a LG M-Disc Blu-ray disc drive. Let's see if I can find the model number. Model number WH14NS40. See if we can get that to focus. Anyway, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it, but this is kind of nostalgic for me. The first upgrade that I ever did to the second computer, and it was actually the first computer I bought, was a 486 SLC 33 megahertz computer. It was a mini tower, and the first thing I did to upgrade on that unit was buy a, back in those days, CD-ROM drive, because I don't even know if DVDs were available yet. I think they were just starting to come out, but really everything was still CD-ROM, and I wanted to play my music CDs. And the funny thing is, I bought it and I did not get a sound card for that computer, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't play the music. So I had to go and buy a Sound Blaster sound card. As far as hardware goes with computers, I didn't know a whole lot back then. The computer I had before that was a 8088 clone computer, a K-Pro, and it ran at a whopping 8 megahertz. So very nostalgic for me. But anyway, I'm putting this drive in because I'm hoping to be able to get access to my somewhat small but decent Blu-ray library, and I want to be able to play the Blu-rays, and I'd like to be able to rip them so that I can have a video file I can play over the network. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it installed and see how it works out. Okay, so I'm gonna try and hopefully without having to take the computer and unplug all the different cables. So I've got my Dell 5675 here. I'm going to try and get the case off, and we'll see if we can mount it. I think it might be screwless. I'm kind of hoping it is, but we'll see. All right, well, there were a few screws on the case. Got those off, and it's been a while since I broke into this case, so I can't hardly remember what I'm dealing with. All right, so we'll have a quick look inside here. So there's my Ryzen 7. I only have a 16 gigabyte DIMM in right now. Probably would get better performance if I had a second one in. And there's my Radeon 580. I have two SSDs hooked up, one for Windows and one for Linux, and a 4 terabyte drive right there. And it looks like today's my lucky day. If you can see there, I have one more SATA slot available. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 taken up. And I've got one more left, SATA number 3. And there's the space right there for the drive. See if you can see it. And that's where I'm going to put it in. Okay, on the front here, there's a door that, by the looks of things, it was probably designed for a specific drive in mind, but whatever the case, when the caddy opens up, it should go ahead and kick the door open. We're going to test that once we get it in. There is a small metal plate in here. It has one screw in it. I'm not sure what that's all about. It looks like a regular Phillips head. So I'm going to take that off and see if I can pop that plate out and get ready to put my drive in. All right, well, I've got the plate off. And the plate isn't anything very special. It looks like it's the type that basically is held in by one little piece of metal on the ends. And once it's taken out, of course, it really doesn't go back in. Now, it did have one screw in it. I suspect this screw is probably the one screw that's needed to hold it in place. And I wanted to point out above here, I have a standard DVD-ROM drive, which comes with the unit. Keeping in mind, of course, this particular drive only reads and writes, well, it doesn't, actually, I'm not sure. Maybe it does write. Anyway, it's a DVD drive. So it looks like I'm going to have to go through the front, which is going to be a big pain in my butt. But I've come to expect that from computers. You know, if you actually think that something's going to go easy, man, you got another thing coming. Whoops, there goes my thumb drive. Well, it actually came apart way easier than I thought it was. I'm actually impressed. I was kind of hoping it didn't need anything special. And you can see that it should be able to push open the door. We're hoping anyway. All right, let's get it all mounted back together and see if we're lucky. Pretty straightforward popping it back together. Only one screw holding the front bezel on. I'm actually pretty shocked. So there's the screw for the front bezel. I cannot believe that bezel came off that easy. And I see one hole here, right there, which I'm going to hazard a guess is probably this screw right here, which has a fine thread. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm a little low on my SATA cable, so I had to steal the only SATA cable that was inside my AMD Phenom 2 X6, which I still want to use. I'm going to use it as my guinea pig for other versions of Linux, and I am going to use it as a backup machine in the studio. So I'm going to have to, unfortunately, see if I can buy a couple more of these. I didn't think I was that low. Let's see. Yeah, our data cable came off the drive, but I think if I can get it outside of this cable tie here, we should be okay. See if I can show you. I don't have a whole lot of room in there to maneuver now that the drive's in. I guess I only have to do this once, so there is that. If not, I'll have to unscrew the drive and take the bezel off again and go through all that process all over again. Alright, so I got the data cable up there for the original DVD drive. And it looks like I got the one lone power unit left, power plug right here. Interesting though, look at that. They actually terminated the power cables, the yellow and the blue, which is the 12 volt. Yellow and the black, I should say, black being of course ground. All right, let's see if we can get the blue cable in to the SATA link. Now I've got two different ends. I've got one end that is at a 90-degree angle, and I have a straight on. So I think I'll do the straight on the motherboard. which is tricky. No matter how much room you have, everything is actually extremely difficult. Okay, we're going to have to do power first on this. And of course it's got to go in upside down. What a surprise. Let's see if you can see that with me in here. So I'm trying to get all the way back there. Oh. And it has to go in upside down. I'm not very good at cable management, by the way, so if you don't like my cable management, one thing I will say is I can't blame you. All right, well, I did get everything in. The power cable is stuck out really far, so I'm a little bit worried it's actually not in there. So I'm going to power the unit up, and we're going to find out if we get any lights on it. So let's get this door open. Okay, I'm going to hold the door, and you guys tell me if you see lights on it. Yep, I see lights. Do you see lights? I'm curious if I press this button if it will actually come out. Oh my God, it does. I can't believe that. Wow. Now let's make sure it doesn't get caught going in. No, it really doesn't. So if I firmly push this button, I'll pull this open again. You can see that the button push actually occurs right here, but it actually transmits that push all the way over to here to hit the button here. So it actually does work. I can't believe that. Well, how cool is that? Oh, I did want to point out also, wow, look at that blue light. Holy cow. See if I can point it out. Right here, there's space for a large fan. So in the future, I'm probably going to put another fan there. And of course, there is already a fan back here. That's spinning pretty slow. It actually only speeds up as needed. Boy, the blue looks surreal in the camera. I'm sure it looks terrible also when you're seeing it. All right, Gadgeteers, the drive is installed. Now we're going to try a Blu-ray, and what better Blu-ray to try than the Goonies, right? I don't actually expect it to work, though. As I understand it, you do have to have some software to play it. I'm hoping VLC will do that job. We're going to find out right now. This button is a little bit tricky. Not too awfully useful. You know, they're trying to make the front of the case look pretty. I'd rather they didn't. Okay. I hear something. All right, well, it showed up here. We're going to open with File Manager. So we have access to the drive, which doesn't mean a whole lot if it's encrypted. All right, let's give VLC Media Player a try. So I'll do Open Disk. Okay, so it can't open Dev CD-ROM. Interesting, I do have some options here. I'll change that to Bluray, and I guess I'll leave that as SR0, but I really think that's for the main DVD player. Alright, Gadgeteers, so it took a little bit of work, but I was able to get things working. I want to show you what I had to do. Now, this is specifically for Fedora, so if you're trying to do this on Ubuntu or Debian or some other distribution, you're going to probably have to follow different directions. So, here are the 4 steps that I did to get things working. This assumes, of course, that you have VLC installed. If not, you can do a DNF install. The 3 packages that you need to have in order to install Blu-ray support is libAACS, libBluray-BDJ, and libBluray. Then, while you are in the command line as you as a user in your home directory do a make directory of .config, which is actually already created, hidden, but you're going to create the directory AACS. Then change directory to that particular directory, and I see I have a typo. And very last, and this is very important, you must run sudo in this directory and do a wget on this to download the key file. The reason I say you need the sudo command is because if you don't, you're probably going to get this error here. Actually, this one downloaded correctly. It was this one here. So for whatever reason, when I was logged in as myself instead of super user or sudo, I was not able to download that keydb file, which you need. Now, unfortunately, word on the street is only some Blu-rays are supported. So what basically that means is if you have an older Blu-ray that has a live AACS or an AACS encrypted key, it's probably going to work, but not the newer Blu-rays. If you want to be able to play them, you're going to have to buy Make MKV and then have it stream to VLC, which sounds like a huge amount of work for me. So your mileage may vary, unfortunately, with Blu-rays on a computer. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. I have tried Goonies. I'm going to show you. I'm going to play just a little bit of the footage and let you see it. I've turned the sound all the way down. I'm really hoping that I don't get a copyright strike on it, but we shall see. But it's playing and the sound sounds fantastic. There we go. The drive just spun up. And we're back in business. I was actually enjoying it. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen The Goonies, you really need to see it. Also, once you complete those steps, you can open up Handbrake. And again, this is on certain Blu-ray discs. It would be the older Blu-ray discs. But if I go to open source and I open up device SR0 and click OK, it'll do a scan. And it will choose the title that it thinks is the correct title, and it will name the disc for me, and it's going to put it in the folder that I used previously when I was ripping some DVDs. And then I can choose what kind of quality that I'm looking for. For example, I could just do fast 1080p 30 and go ahead and click start encoding, and it begins encoding. I'm really disappointed that we have to deal with DRM and put up with this every time we play the discs that we own. It's kind of a frustrating thing. I feel like DRM is very passé. We should be able to play these discs no matter what, and I should easily be able to rip this disc and make a backup. The fact that I can't play some of the newer discs, and even if I can, I have to buy special software and play it on Windows. I don't even know if at that point I could then make a backup copy and rip a file. I would hope so. So I might look around and see if I can find some Windows software, but it is somewhat disappointing. And I hope to see in the future DRM is going to go away, but I don't think it will. I think it's going to get far worse before it ever gets better. If you think of Netflix and Hulu and all the streaming applications that we use, they all use DRM. And you don't really own anything. The minute you stop paying, you no longer get access to it. Yes, you can buy movies on Google or YouTube or whatever, but the thing about that is, and I don't expect Google or YouTube to disappear anytime soon, but what if they do? What happens to your library of movies that you paid for? You just don't get them anymore. Simple as that. So that's something to think about. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time on Fast Gadgets. This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/fastgadgets.